This is the story of the Room 9 kids, a 5th grade class in Manteca, California, Manteca Unified School District, and how their experience of Liberating Genius and Genius Hour changed their learning and their lives. They all felt inspired by the motto, "You are a genius, and the world needs your contribution." After our What is My Genius activity, a dramatic hush came over the room when the students received their folders and read the kind words that others had written about them. All that positivity was so uplifting. Students were asking if they could keep the folders, and when I said yes, they decorated them and reverently put them in their backpacks. Our Kinder Tech Buddies program has blossomed. The original mission was to teach kindergartners tech tools, but after Liberating Genius, my students had powerful conversations with their buddies about their talents, passions, and ambitions. We helped our kinders create a poster displaying their genius, and we work on more lessons to help them discover their strengths and passions. The kinders cheer when my students enter the classroom. The Liberating Genius lessons have allowed the Room 9 kids to really believe that their genius, ideas, and passions are worthy of the world. They were very excited by their Thrively passion profiles. Because Liberating Genius calls for frequent reflection, we discussed the value of silence in honing our inner voice that guides us to make good decisions. Students were stunned to realize they had almost no quiet time in their lives. We now enjoy silence during most of our lessons. When I handed out flyers for the annual canned food drive, my students asked about our local food bank. How many families does it serve, and how much food does it take to feed a family of 4? Then the students researched the answers, both online and in person. They used what we'd studied about advertising to design a window display and a newspaper article alerting the community to the food drive. Thanks to their genius, we more than doubled the amount of food we collected the year before. At our student-faculty basketball game, I asked my students which team they hoped would win. "Either way, Lincoln wins," replied one of them with a smile, and the others nodded in agreement. This has become typical of the community-minded attitude that my students have embraced now that they have liberated their genius. I made an interesting observation when comparing our first trimester scores, when we did not do Liberating Genius lessons, to our second trimester scores, when we did do Liberating Genius lessons. Their students' scores increased dramatically. I did nothing differently except for do the Liberating Genius lessons. I'm not ready to attribute this entirely to the lessons, but I do know that my students are now approaching testing with more confidence and more creativity. And that, I'm certain, can be directly traced to liberating their genius. Once my students had created passion portraits of each other using their power words from Thrively, they wanted to create compassion portraits for their Kinder Tech buddies, who then drew themselves on the same picture. Next, my students wrote, "You matter," or "You matter to me" on the pictures and gave them to their buddies. Their buddies put their heads on the shoulders of their 5th grade buddies and smiled. My students were touched and forever changed. My student Paula said, "I think they know now how important they are to us." In the past, it's taken a long while before students chose their Genius Hour projects. But this year, after the Liberating Genius lessons, Only one of my 31 Room 9 kids had not decided on a project after the first conference with me. My students are exploring family recipes, stop-motion movies, origami, anti-bullying activities, professional soccer, architecture, and other passion projects. Because their collective genius has been liberated, the future looks bright for the Room 9 kids and for the worlds and lives that they will change in the future. The Room 9 kids look forward to a bright future because now they have liberated their genius and they understand that they have an important contribution to share with the world.